If, as we have noted, the interior freedom of the gift, the disinterested gift of self, lies at the root of nakedness. Now notice what he just said there. The interior freedom of the gift. When they're made in the image, at first, before sin, they are free with the freedom of the gift. They are a gift, but they're free with this. It's not hampered in any way. They're ready to give the whole thing. Then precisely this gift allows both the man and the woman to find each other reciprocally. Oh, I love that word. Inasmuch as the Creator willed each of them for his own sake. Remember that? Gaudium et Spes 24.3? Do you remember that? For whose sake were you made? For your own sake. But you can't find your sake unless what? You give up your sake. 24.3. In the first beatifying encounter, the man thus finds the woman and she finds him. In this way, he welcomes her within himself, and she welcomes him within herself, welcomes her as she is willed for her own sake by the Creator, as she is constituted in the mystery of the image of God through her femininity, and reciprocally, she welcomes him in the same way as he is willed for his own sake by the Creator and constituted by him through his masculinity. The human body, oriented from within by the sincere gift of the person, reveals not only its masculinity or femininity on the physical level, but reveals also such a value and such a beauty that it goes beyond the simply physical level of sexuality. The affirmation of the person is nothing other than welcoming the gift which through reciprocity creates the communion of persons. Hello. Reciprocity is one of the greatest English words ever. Reciprocity. It means there's a reciprocal exchange. According to Genesis 2:25, the man and woman did not feel shame. This allows us to reach the conclusion that the exchange of the gift in which their whole humanity, soul and body, femininity and masculinity participates, is realized by preserving the inner characteristic, that is precisely innocence, of self-donation and of the acceptance of the other as a gift. Whoa, Bessie. These two functions of the mutual exchange are deeply connected in the whole process of the gift of self. Giving and accepting the gift interpenetrate in such a way. By the way, interpenetrate, that's perichoresis. Interpenetrate. That's what that means. In other words, you are forming a perichoresis with your spouse. See, it's this intimate exchange, circular kind of thing, backwards and forwards, giving, receiving, giving. In such a way that the very act of giving becomes acceptance, and acceptance transforms itself into giving. The biblical text is completely clear and transparent that at the same time, the acceptance of the woman by the man and the very way of accepting her become, as it were, a first gift in such a way that the woman, in giving herself, at the same time discovers herself. Did you just see what he said? By giving yourself, you actually discover yourself. Why? Because you're getting something back when you give. Thanks to the fact that she has been accepted and welcomed, and thanks to the way in which she has been received by the man. She therefore finds herself in her own gift of herself. She finds herself in her gift of herself. So it's a double whammy. She's enriching him. The fact that she's giving a gift enriches her. And then this just keeps going back and forth. Perichoresis, interpenetration. Okay, she comes to the innermost depth of her own person and to the full possession of herself when, in this acceptance, the whole dignity of the gift is ensured through the offer of what she is and the whole truth of her humanity. Notice, whole truth of her humanity. Whatever she was given as truth, internal truth, that's what we're talking about. And in the whole reality of her body and her sex, of her femininity. We add that this finding of oneself and one's own gift becomes the source of a new gift of self. Guess what? When you give yourself, and you're renewed. So you actually become a new person. And when you give the gift again, it's a deeper gift. It's a renewed gift. So it never stays the same. It never stays at the same level, ever. That grows by the power of the inner disposition to the exchange of the gift and in the measure in which it encounters the same and even deeper acceptance and welcome as the fruit of an ever more intense consciousness of the gift itself.
It seems that the second creation account has assigned to the man from the beginning the function of the one who above all receives the gift. The woman has, from the beginning, been entrusted to his eyes, to his consciousness, to his sensibility, to his heart. He, by contrast, must in some way ensure the very process of the exchange of the gift. The reciprocal interpenetration of giving and receiving the gift which precisely through its reciprocity creates an authentic communion of persons.
Oh my goodness, an authentic community of persons. It's like authentic Catholicism, isn't it? Okay, go ahead.
While in the mystery of creation, the woman is the one who is given to the man, he, on his part, in receiving her as a gift in the full truth of her person and femininity, enriches her by this very reception. And at the same time, he too is enriched in this reciprocal relationship.
So two things are happening. What? Who's getting enriched? He's getting enriched. She's getting enriched. So two things are happening with the same action. True? Yes? Keep going.
The man is enriched not only through her who gives her own person and femininity to him, but also by his gift of self. The man's act of self-donation in answer to that of the woman is for him himself an enrichment. In fact, it is here that the specific essence, as it were, of his masculinity is manifested, which, through the reality of the body and of its sex, reaches the innermost depth of its self-possession.
Self-possession. Now, what is self-possession? You have self-mastery with self-possession. In other words, you are free to give your gift totally because you're not hampered. You are not an addict. Does that make sense? You're not a sex addict. You're not a drug addict. You're not an alcohol addict. You're not any addict. You are free to give of yourself because this is before sin.
Thanks to which he is able both to give himself and to receive the gift of the other. The man, therefore, not only accepts the gift, but at the same time is welcomed as a gift by the woman in the self-revelation of the inner spiritual essence of his masculinity.
Now notice, can I stop you here? Did you see the word essence?
Oh, yes,
What?
absolutely.
Where does that go? That's the formal cause.
Cause.
The formal causes of masculinity is this self-donation. See? And every man has that and every woman has that. But it's a different mode in both. Okay, keep going.
The man, therefore, not only accepts the gift, but at the same time is welcomed as a gift by the woman in the self-revelation of the inner spiritual essence of his masculinity, together with the whole truth of his body and his sex. When he is accepted in this way, he is enriched by this acceptance and welcoming of the gift of his own masculinity. It follows that such an acceptance, in which the man finds himself through the sincere gift of self, becomes in him a source of a new and more profound enrichment of the woman with himself.
Oh, hello. So the more you give, the more you're enriched. The more you are enriched, the more you give enriched stuff. The more you receive that back, and it just keeps going. And it's this perichoresis, going back and forth and back, and it never ends.
The exchange is reciprocal, and the mutual effects of the sincere gift and of finding oneself reveal themselves and grow in that exchange.
Now, this is a philosophical way of saying, again, that it makes no difference whether you have these wonderful, deep feelings for each other. If you are actually giving a sincere gift of yourself in any way whatsoever, I get up and make the coffee in the morning. If I did not get up and make coffee in the morning, I would be taking some of that gift, sincere gift of myself. I get up earlier, so I make the coffee. But that's just a tiny little example of the fact that when my wife gets up and has her coffee, she doesn't have to make it. She's got it there, and I said, you know what? I think I nailed it this time. I think I'm getting the hang of this making coffee. Now, I've been making coffee for years and years and years, so I'm jesting. But see, there's this love talk that goes back and forth based upon simply a cup of coffee. If I said I'm not going to do that anymore, I will not ever give you a sincere gift of myself in any way, shape, or form, we're done. We're done. And if she says the same thing, we're done. And if both of us say the same thing at the same time, it's over. Because the philosophy of reciprocity is that you're willing at least to give something of yourself as a sincere gift. The minute that happens, you're still in the ball game, folks. That's the way it is. That's the way God made it. You don't have anything to do with it. It's the way God made it. Man appears in the visible world as the highest expression of the divine gift because he bears within himself the inner dimension of the gift. Hello. And with it he carries into the world his particular likeness to God, with which he transcends and also rules his visibility in the world, his bodiliness, his masculinity and femininity, his nakedness. Now notice, we're back to nakedness. What does nakedness now mean? It does not mean a fig leaf. Thus, the next one, thus in this dimension, a primordial sacrament is constituted. What did he just say? Thus, in this dimension, a primordial sacrament is constituted, understood as a sign that efficaciously transmits in the visible world the invisible mystery hidden in God from eternity. This is the first fundamental. Now, you're not going to see this in RCIA. You're not going to see it anywhere in the church teaching. Those two fundamental sacraments, Donovan, are there because he put them there, and he is a philosopher. So he says, underneath the 7 formal sacraments, you have 2 foundational sacraments, and those are the 2. This is the first one. And this is the mystery of truth and love. Whoa! And truth and love is 2 sides of the same coin, right? Truth and love. The mystery of divine life in which man really participates. In the history of man, it is original innocence that begins this participation and is also the source of original happiness. The sacrament as a visible sign is constituted with man, inasmuch as he is a body through his visible masculinity and femininity. The body, in fact, and only the body, is capable of making visible what is invisible. That's another reason why we call it a theology of the body. Without a body, you don't see what is visible that you want to see, that is invisible. You are seeing the internal workings of the Trinity when you look at a communion of persons. That's what you're looking at. That's exactly what you're looking at. And when you look at Jesus Christ, you're sitting there and say, oh, you want to know the Father? Well, then what do? You know me. So that's a different matter. That's where Father and Son is of the Trinity, and that has to do with redemption and sin. The body, in fact, and only the body is capable of making visible what is in it. Yes. It has been created to transfer into the visible reality of the world the mystery hidden from eternity in God, and thus to be a sign of it. Yes, we are a sign of God. Why? Because we're made in his image. That's why. So we're a sign of who God is. In man, created in the image of God, the very sacramentality of Christian, the sacramentality of the world, was thus in some way revealed. In fact, through his bodiliness, his masculinity and femininity, man becomes a visible sign of the economy of truth and love. What does economy mean? It does not mean money. It means the establishment and the management of truth and love. That's what it means. Which has its source in God himself and was revealed already in the mystery of creation. Against this vast background, we also understand that through the whole depth of their anthropological meaning, the words of Genesis 2:25 express the fact that together with man, holiness has entered the visible world, the world created for him. Love is already there, right? So what's missing? In a sense, they bring in holiness. Why? Because there's a spiritual element here. With this consciousness of the meaning of his own body, man, as male and female, enters into the world as a subject of truth and love. Notice, truth and love, love and truth and love. You never get away from that with JP2. One can say that Genesis 2:23 speaks about the first feast of humanity, as it were, the whole original fullness of the experience of the spousal meaning of the body. And it is a feast of humanity that draws its origin from the divine sources of truth and love and the very mystery of creation. And although over this feast the horizon of sin and death was very soon to be extended, nevertheless, we draw a first hope already from the mystery of creation, namely, that the fruit of the divine economy of truth and love, which revealed itself at the beginning, is not death, but life, and not so much the destruction of the body of man made in the image of God, but rather the call to glory. Now that's it for our TOB. The TOB, indeed all of John Paul II's work, is meant to be studied and understood not just as an academic exercise, but as a catechetical endeavor where both mind and heart are engaged. We have seen that John Paul II's thought does not leave us in the same place. Like Scripture, certain of his paragraphs leap off the page and change our perspective, even our direction. John Paul II's thought, especially his TOB, is the most aggressive and effective regimen against a cancer that has metastasized to every essential part of human society, especially the family and the religious institution. The cancer stems from short-circuiting the whole truth and inherent dignity of the human person. The TOB explains who we are, how we are made, and why we are called to love without reservation. That is the TOB difference and the difference it makes, and that is the John Paul II difference and the difference it makes. And believe me, it has, in my life, I could not live the way I live without him being behind me and my teaching his stuff. I get way too excited and I can't stand it. I mean, I get so excited.